I'm Black Snape. Yeah, I'm Black Snape. Yeah, black cloak, black skin. Walk the hall, they whispering. Cauldron bubble, I'm different. Dark eyes don't flinch, just glimmering. House points, man, miss me. Came from pain, they history. Same blood, they fear, they diss me. But they copy my brew, still sip me. Side eye from the portraits. Cold stone, but my soul scorched. They ain't teach where I'm from. Had to learn from the alleys and the torch. Half prince in the world that hate. Half rage in the narrow gate. Half hood in the castle gate. Homie, never run from facts.
Greetings, you over 1 million filthy muggles and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. We're back with Harry Potter sooner than I thought because HBO released their first Harry Potter trailer, and as predicted, it broke the internet, just not in all the ways that HBO hoped for. But you can't say HBO's parent company, Warner Brothers, America's dumbest entertainment company, wasn't expecting a little heat. And they deserve it with the bad decision they made. Warner Brothers' ambitious attempt to once again adapt one of the most popular fantasy book series of all time, Harry Potter, and remake one of the most popular film series of a generation. Of course, the Harry Potter show is going to be one of the most anticipated series of the last decade. And it could have been an absolute slam dunk if it was adapted properly, something HBO had promised to do when they said this would be a faithful adaptation. A promise that was broken almost immediately with the casting of Papa Essiedu's Black Snape. Both a forced and unforced error that will go down as some of the worst casting in Hollywood history. And now that the trailer's been released, showing a lot more than I thought it would, giving us our first look at Harry, Ron, Hermione, Malfoy, Hagrid, Miss McGonagall, and Dumbledore. You think that would be enough to dominate the conversation, but unfortunately for HBO, the thing that broke the internet was Black Snape. Because we got our first look at Black Snape yesterday with the trailer and a promotional image, and I will say again, the resemblance is uncanny.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Something ain't right. Look at this dude. Wait till you see the... No. Look at the top of his head. Look at his lips.
I don't think I'm going out on a limb here by saying our expectations were low, but holy fuck. I mean, they're not even trying on this one because they gave Snape dreads. And if you said Severus Snape looks like a younger Whoopi Goldberg, you wouldn't be that far off. If you said Snape looks like Tracy Chapman, you're getting a little closer. If you think Snape looks like the dude from Good Burger, you're spot on. And all this went down within 24 hours of Warner Brothers announcing Stephen Colbert is going to be writing a Lord of the Rings movie. And it's a complete mystery why they were billions of dollars in debt and had to be sold. And it gets worse. Look at what he's wearing in this promotional image. Is that a tracksuit under his robe? Is the barrel of his gat lined with unicorn hair or dragon heartstring? Is he sipping on gin and polyjuice with his mind on his galleons and his galleons on his mind? Is the 6th series going to be called the Half-Blood Fresh Prince? I'll stop right there for now, but after this reveal, as you know, the internet has a job to do, and by gum, they're going to do it. And while the trailer isn't ratioed, it hasn't been much better in the comments section. Not casting Adam Driver as Snape needs to be a crime. Your parents were the kindest, bravest people I ever met. Harry finds out his dad had Black Snape hanging from under a tree. This looks so book accurate. Snape pops up. You got your mama's eyes for real, cuz. We got a Black Snape with dreads before GTA 6. Or the win's a winner. And this is one of my favorite memes because it points out how a race swap Snape will complicate the story and the themes of Harry Potter. Just realize that when Neville faces the boggart, it's going to look like his biggest fear is a black guy hiding in a closet. But all things considered, if I do say so myself, our editor Perry Chan came up with the best one.
Walking through the dark, one day my hand and a X in my heart. Turn that fear to a spell, then I spark. Yeah. I've been cursed from the start. I'm Black Snape. They talk war in the streets. I see more than they see in the tower. Drive by, man, I glide by stealth. Broomstick, bring stone, cold shower. I ain't glorified shots, that's great. That's moms in black, that's waves of boys that ain't make old age. So I ain't my rage at the cage. Walking through the dark, one day my hand and her ex in my heart. Turn that fear to a spell, then I spark. Yeah. I've been cursed from the start. I'm Black Snape.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
And now that we've seen that Snape is wearing a tracksuit and has dreads, to anyone for some reason still saying he wasn't specifically described as white in the books, well, Garrett, I need you to roll this one out again.
Snape's sallow skin had gone the color of sour milk.
"I am," said Snape. He looked slightly paler than usual, and his cold black eyes glittered strangely.
Snape looked paler than usual, and angrier. Snape looked around at him, his face framed between curtains of greasy black hair. He closed his eyes, and suddenly he was Voldemort, looking into Snape's pale face.
And Snape's face was like a death mask. It was marble white.
And again, while the trailer isn't ratioed, the dislike count is at 98,000, which is extremely high. 99% of that ratio comes from Black Snape. And that's why the decision to race swap Snape will go down as some of the worst casting in the history of Hollywood. It was not a decision based on creativity or merit. It was a decision motivated by social and political agendas, which is a shame because if you take away Black Snape, the trailer was pretty good. While I still have my criticisms, I didn't like how it was shot so dark and it was devoid of any color. I like how Nick Frost looks as Hagrid, but he just has Nick Frost's voice, which doesn't sound anything like Hagrid. But other than that, it looked like it has a lot of potential and could have been great instead of just good despite Black Snape. The key word there is potential, but again, the casting of Harry and Ron looks perfect. And with Hermione, well, I was convinced they were going to cast a black actress, but they didn't. Now, the one they did cast was the voice in the early audiobooks, and she sounded just like her, so I think it's fine. I also think Draco looks like Draco. Miss McGonagall looks like Miss McGonagall. The Dursleys definitely look different, but fine. What we could see of the inside of Hogwarts looks like Hogwarts, and John Lithgow's Dumbledore, especially in this promotional image, looks fantastic, which makes it all the more frustrating and inexplicable. I would love to know the name of the person who floated this idea, and I would love to hear their bullshit explanation for it, because as many of us have said before, Harry Potter was already diverse, and the demographics of the story matched the demographics of the UK in the 90s, between the years of 1991 and 1998 to be exact, and you could have race swapped a bunch of other characters, and while people still would have complained, it wouldn't have really affected the story and wouldn't have been as bad as, say, Black Snape. Or, hear me out, don't race swap anyone. It would have avoided a lot of headaches, a lot of fan backlash, and it would have made it easier to write your story, which is now going to make Harry Potter's father, James Potter, look like a racist. His mother, Lily, is going to look like a racist because she leads on and friend zones a black kid so she could hook up with James Potter, who picked on the black kid. As far as the rest of the Marauders are concerned, well, I'm convinced they're going to make Sirius Black black, and not just because his last name is Black, although that would be good enough for Hollywood, but it will probably make the Marauders look a little less racist if a black kid is picking on another black kid. But then you have a show made by a bunch of white people depicting black kids picking on black kids. You play identity politics games, you win identity politics prizes. This brings us to the interview with Papa Escuito from a week ago, and I should have known a trailer was coming because this is textbook getting out in front of a problem. The good old proactive fan blaming taken from the pages of Amazon and Lucasfilm. If any of this sounds familiar, it should, because it's just like with Moses Ingram and Kenobi and the Rings of Power. From The Hollywood Reporter, Harry Potter series star Papa Escuito says he's received death threats for Snape casting. I've been told, quit or I'll end you, the actor told The Times. To state the obvious, nobody should be threatening actors for taking a role, and I have no doubt he's received these threats, and he has my sympathy as somebody who's received a lot of threats for talking about things like Harry Potter. It's also been my experience to not bring attention to the threats because it invites more of them. So why do they do it? It's a marketing tool used regularly by corporate Hollywood to shield them from criticism for their provocative decisions. Once that hits The Hollywood Reporter, then Deadline picks it up, and Variety picks it up. Then we go back to Variety. HBO boss Casey Bloys says Harry Potter set has serious security amid death threats against cast. I'd also like to point out that Deadline, The Hollywood Reporter, and Variety are all owned by the same company, Penske Media. And again, nobody should be threatening anyone over pretend, but we also have to keep in mind that this is part of the gig, but it's what he says later that actually bothers me. However, the I May Destroy You star, well, you may destroy Harry Potter, added that the abuse fuels me and makes me more passionate passionate about making this character my own. What he should be doing, although he doesn't look anything like Snape, is trying to make the character as close as possible to the book, because that's what the paying customer and the fans want. Nobody is asking for Papa Essuito's version of Snape. But that's not the only red flag. The showrunners of Harry Potter, one of whom has past credits with Succession and His Dark Materials, the atheist response to C.S. Lewis's Narnia, sound like they want to make this show their own as well by adding things that weren't in the books, like going to Ron's house, the Burrow, early, or seeing Draco's home life or behind the scenes with the professors. The story is supposed to be from Harry's perspective, and now it's not going to be, which fundamentally changes it. The viewer won't be discovering the wizard world through Harry's eyes, removing that sense of wonder. And if you're adding stuff that wasn't in the books, that means you're going to be leaving out stuff that was in the books, which defeats the purpose of this entire show. But it's Warner Brothers' show to fuck up, and it's just the latest example of Hollywood's inability to get out of their own way. I really would have enjoyed watching and covering a faithful Harry Potter show, but that train has left platform 9 3/4, all because some pompous and vapid Hollywood executives and showrunners thought that they would change hearts and minds with the casting of Black Snape. We won't give the fans what they want, we'll give them what they need. And it's here we get to the most insidious part of this, which is the reason I'm talking about it, the motivation behind race swapping. While they'll be calling the fans racist over the backlash of casting Black Snape, their decision to cast a Black Snape was inherently racist, because you literally did it to make it less white. Not a single person alive would have complained if Snape was cast accurately. And as this show is getting memed to death right now and almost ratioed on YouTube, which is mind-blowing, somehow it will become the Harry Potter fandom's fault. And I can't believe we're still doing this. Could we just stop? You know, like they did with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms Season 1, where everybody just enjoyed a properly adapted TV show? Is that too much to ask? Anyway, we'll close with this to the people out there who say Snape is just a fictional character and it doesn't really matter. To that I say, if it doesn't matter, then just keep Snape white.
Nerdrotic.com.
If you like what you heard, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like what you heard, I thank you for listening this long. I will see you in the next video.
Suffer an horrific death when you can join me and live.
Never!
Here's a